Hello again, everyone. So I am back with my Doll Chateau Olivia because I am needing to reintroduce her. I actually have been secretly struggling with her for a bit, with her and her husband doll, my Doll Chateau Pierre. I've been just kind of, I don't know. I felt back to square one with them like I did after I first got them. And I didn't like that feeling because after I first got them, I actually had thought about selling them. And to be honest, I think they're absolutely gorgeous dolls. And I really actually don't want to get rid of them. That is why they're still actually here. But I have not put any work into their backstory, and that was just making me sad for some reason. It's not like all my dolls or characters have to have this big fleshed out backstory and everything, but I've been watching you guys' videos and just loving everyone's backstories and everything. And it was actually, I mean, for most of my dolls and characters, I already have rather fleshed out long but not difficult backstories for them. You know, they come off as characters, as people to me, rather than just dolls. And that's how they were starting to feel like they were just nothing. And I was feeling really bad about that. So what I decided to do was kind of start with her because with him, I'm not sure where to go because he has always been based around her. So I decided to start with her and I made her a new outfit. I made her this tutu, which I absolutely adore, and this simple like tube top thing because I didn't know what to put with the tutu I made. And while I was making this outfit for her, it kind of refreshed her to me and I was able to think of some stuff for her. But the problem with it is that it erased all the previous things I had shared about her, and that actually it felt almost embarrassing. Like I don't know how to even compare it to, like, because the stuff I had shared for her, I felt so concrete in it, so I shared it with so much passion and whatnot. But it turns out that it just wasn't working. None of it was working except for two elements of her backstory. Well, three technically, but two major elements of her backstory was that she's a ballerina and that she is married to my Doll Chateau Pierre. Those two things are definitely concrete and staying. But one of the elements, which is that she has a daughter, is definitely changing simply because the dolls I got to be her children, which is my Doll Chateau Queena and Douglas, what I think I was doing, and more than definitely doing, actually, the more I think on it, is that I was trying to justify buying the Queena and Douglas by shoving them into their backstory. More than likely because they're from the same company, but also because I knew in her backstory she definitely had a daughter. I got the Douglas because I'm like, well, she could have a son too, type of thing. And that's just how that went. But once I got the Queen and Douglas and molded their characters, I realized just actually Sunday how much more sense it would make for them to not have parents, for their parents to actually be dead. Well, I didn't want to technically kill off her and my Pierre because, to be honest, I mean, I see them still alive. I see her with the daughter, but I think definitely their backstories have separated, and that my Queena and Douglas are going to stay in the story I have for them that I really need to definitely work on. And I'm going to start from square one on her. She has been such a difficult doll, her and her husband, because I had the idea of them being like the vampire equivalent of Bonnie and Clyde. But once they got here, nothing I had for that idea worked for them. And that's why I almost sold them, because I was so absolutely frustrated between the wait time and their price and just everything. I was just fed up because nothing suited them and they weren't fitting into the story I had, and it was just really annoying. But then I gave them new face ups and I got them some new clothes, came up with the idea she's about a ballet dancer, and they definitely became dolls I wanted to keep around. But they have yet to become characters that I really want to write about or even care about. So that's why I definitely decided she needed some work. And I gave it some thought, and I came up with some stuff for her. She does still have a daughter, and she is a ballet dancer. And the backstory, as I know now, so if it will sound a little rough, but as of now, her backstory is that she was a ballet dancer here in the States, and she was actually pretty popular, but she wasn't a major ballet dancer. She had been ballet dancing since she was like as young as you could be able to ballet dance, and she was super passionate about it, and she loved it. She loved choreographing it, and she put everything she had into it. But she was still, since it was just her, she didn't really get too far on, actual stages because it was just her. She wasn't famous. It was hard to get anywhere famous, but she was trying. That's what, at the time where like her major story starts, she was definitely trying. Well, she gets noticed by the head of a ballet company, and she actually ends up joining this company. But the guy who is the the owner of this company is a real asshole and a very horrible person, which she does not fully find out until after she signed a contract to join this company. And even after, she doesn't find out even until after, she's done some major shows and become kind of indebted to him because she's getting known finally. And that's all she's wanted. And the company she joins, it turns out they travel all over the world, and that's something she's always wanted to do. She's always wanted to travel like all over. Not like she's tired of the States per se, but she's always, she wants to see other places. She's young, and that's what she wants to do. um she, especially Italy and France, that was her obsession. She really wanted to go there. But so the leader of the company is a real douchebag, of the worst sort. And actually, after a bit, the nice guy routine that he'd had going on started to go away. And it turns out he was very obsessed with her. He had actually been watching a lot of her shows and following her around, which she only finds out later. And he starts to be controlling of every aspect of her life that he can be. Who she talks to, who she sees, what she eats, what she wears. And he basically just like drags her down mentally, until he can get her into a place where he can get her to sleep with him to be able to travel. He actually threatened, if you don't sleep with me, you won't be able to travel. But written into the contract, which she had seen and definitely read, but if she actually does not travel with the company when they are ready to go, regardless of health and whatnot, if she does actually travel with them and be available to them, she is breaking her contract. And she really did not want to do that. So she was in a basic, catch-22 situation where, like, to be able to travel, she had to sleep with him. And if she did not sleep with him to travel, she was breaking her contract. And eventually it just gets to the point where she's so broken down that she does it. She agrees to it and she does it. and their relationship is just becomes one of just control, and he uses any power he can over her, and it's puts her in a very awful situation. And she ends up, of course, traveling. He does not break that promise, but she can't even fully enjoy it because she's compromised herself. She does not like him at all. um, I mean, he's an attractive guy, but that's not what she doesn't want him. She doesn't like him. She doesn't know much about him, and he's a horrible person. And she is not herself when because of him. So it just gets really bad for a while. But she is seeing other places, and there are certain times where they do. I'm not sure what I knew the name of it yesterday, but today I can't think of a name. But they do shows where they're able to, each dancer is able to choreograph something themselves and perform it. And he actually allows her to do what she wants. And that's the only time she feels free and able to enjoy herself through all this nonsense. She finally feels back to herself, and that's the most beautiful moment she has while they're traveling around the world. When they get back to the States, they actually discover that she is pregnant. And he at first he did suggest her getting rid of the baby because he believed it wasn't his when it was definitely his. But he ended up wanting to keep it because he's always wanted a child. He didn't let her have any say in it. To be honest, she wasn't sure how she felt because she really didn't want to have his child. And to be also honest, that may be part of the reason why he wanted her to keep it, because he knew she kind of didn't, and it was just another way to break her down, to be honest, and something else to blame her for. Just he had a whole bunch of twisted, stupid reasoning about it. So she does get pregnant. Of course, that changes your body. She started gaining weight because of the baby. Not too much, but enough that he claimed he was disgusted and horrified, and don't touch me and blah blah blah. And she also couldn't dance. Her feet actually would start swelling up, and it became out of her control. She would do the best she could, but she couldn't dance, and he was just a nightmare during her whole entire pregnancy. And it was to the point where she was going to come up with one of two plans, and one of the plans was to secretly give the baby up for an adoption, and the other plan was to do the same thing but also kill herself. She was just at such a low that she did not feel like living anymore. But she also was like, well, it's too late. I have to have this baby. I just need to figure out what I need to do after this baby. Am I going to live, or am I going to die? Regardless, I do not want this baby around this situation, and I don't know if I want to be in this situation. So she actually, she ends up having the baby, and I think that's actually the catalyst for her to get out of the situation she's in. She sees this baby. And it's her daughter, not a boy. That's what I meant to say. I meant to say it's a girl, but I said it's her daughter, but duh. Uh, anyway, she has the baby, and just seeing this baby just made her go, enough is enough. Like, it just snapped her out of it, I guess. When I say she wanted to, instead of giving this baby up and either living or dying, she wanted to keep this baby and live and not be with him. And she actually ends up taking the baby and running away from him in the company and saying screw the contract and screw everything. And just the baby gives her strength. And from there, I'm actually not sure how she meets my Doll Chateau Pierre. I know that he is the vampire that turns her. So I don't know how they met. They could have met overseas. They could have already met by this time. Maybe he had been talking to her. Maybe that's why the leader of the company accuses her of having someone else's baby. Maybe he saw her talking to him, but regardless of how it works out, he definitely made her. I know that for certain. So I just have to figure out how they met. And they are technically husband and wife, but only on vampire terms. They can't legally get married because she is considered dead. They actually, do the records so that the world thinks she's dead. And I know for certain that her daughter will remain human. I kept thinking, and this is where I also kept getting stuck with my Queen and Douglas, because I imagined she would want her daughter to stay human. So I know now I realize that yes, her daughter will stay human and make the decision one day on her own, maybe to be a vampire, maybe not, who knows, but she does remain human. Now, I'm not sure how her parents raise her, what they tell her, what they do. I'm going to figure that out definitely. But I do know for her daughter, and I feel so stupid about this because this had been always the sculpt I had imagined her daughter to be. So I feel really dumb that I went, oh, no, 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 this doll will work instead. But now I'm going back to that. And it'll be a Doll Chateau Bella. I have always thought that the Olivia sculpt and the Bella sculpt look extremely similar, and I really want her daughter to look like her and not like the leader of the ballet company. I just really want that. She may have that guy's eye color or something like that, but I definitely wanted her to mostly look like her. And I know for a fact that her daughter just idolizes her mom. She thinks her mother is the greatest thing, and she takes the best care of her daughter and will never let that happen to her daughter. She would literally destroy anyone who tried to do that to her daughter. And they're a very actually weirdly happy family. This human daughter and her vampire parents. It's actually quite sweet in my head. So her daughter is going to be a Doll Chateau Bella, more than likely in normal yellow skin. I decided kind of on that simply because, first of all, I'm intrigued by the Doll Chateau, yellow skin, because I do not have a doll in yellow skin. So I'm intrigued by it, but also because her parents have actually yellowed a little bit to like a cream white color, and comparing them to my normal pink skin that I have home from Doll Chateau, I decided that the yellows resin from them will probably be more indicative of a human girl versus them, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, I wanted to definitely reintroduce them because all of the stuff I've said about them in the past, about them and my Doll Chateau Queen and Douglas, are no longer current or relevant. And I'm glad I'm getting this out of the way because really, seriously, I felt really dumb about all of it. But this is definitely her backstory to stay. I just need to, of course, hammer some stuff down, figure out what happened after she runs away. And I definitely want to figure out how she and her husband meet. I need to refigure out names. The reason why I need to refigure out names is because of my naming system. If you watch my video about names, you would understand it's very kind of restrictive. And if he made her, she has to have the same, her name has to start with the same letter as his name because they're in the same vampire bloodline. So I need to figure that out. So her name won't be Bonnie anymore, but I will say that her husband, as a pet name, still calls her Bon Bon. So she will still be Bon Bon to him, but she will have an actual name. I just have to figure it out. So that is all about her that I have so far. Hope it wasn't too boring or all over the place. But I definitely want to share it, and I hope you enjoyed it. And once I figure out more, I will share that. I definitely want to share more backstories. I've been loving the backstory videos so much, so I thought I would get in on that. But yeah, so let me end this video because it's super duper long. Thank you very much if you made it to the end. And that's all for now. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.